So we're opening a video store soon, and it's in a small space. It's about 10 feet by 12 feet. So when you're trying to open a video store in a size that small, you kind of have to curate it a little bit more. And when you're curating it, you have to think about things like what is essential? What is essential not only from a cinema standpoint, but what is essential from a video store standpoint? So while we need to have the good, the bad, and the ugly, we also need to have the room. But then there's a third category. There's the kind of movie that, if not for video stores and if not for the passion of video store employees, might be forgotten and might just otherwise fade away altogether. And when thinking about that third category and what that third category is going to look like here at Lighthouse Video, one of the movies that comes to mind most often is 2014's The Identical. If you're not familiar with The Identical, the premise is this. You know how there was Elvis? And because there was Elvis, there were Elvis impersonators. Okay, what if one of the Elvis impersonators was actually Elvis's long-lost twin separated at birth? Okay, now imagine instead of Elvis, it's a character similar in every way, except dissimilar enough so they don't have to pay naming rights. And what follows with The Identical is a tremendously silly movie that has no intention of being a silly movie. It's like the producers of The Identical watched Walk Hard and they said, you know, if these guys would quit clowning around, there's a pretty important movie in here. But let's break down The Identical, and yes, there are spoilers ahead for this 12-year-old movie. You have been warned. We open the movie in Decatur, Alabama, 1972. Very helpful text on screen. You like helpful text? Well, guess what? This is Drexel Hemsley. Drexel is played by an actor named Blake Rain. More on Blake Rain later. The movie opens with Drexel being driven through Decatur in 1972 when, psych, let's actually start this movie back in 1935, where Drexel has visions of his mama in the field picking cotton. That's Helen Hemsley. She's married to William. Helen gets pregnant and William says, we can't live like this. You're pregnant. This isn't healthy for you. So let's chase down a moving train and ride it into this big city of Decatur where I will have trouble finding work. William even gets grabby with one of his ex-bosses at one point. The boss is like, oh, I love this. More of this, please. And you're hired. But William is sad and he goes home and his wife is there and she says, oh, hey, while you were out harassing your former boss, I gave birth to twins. Well, that's pretty much the last thing the Hemsleys need right now, so I guess later that night, while Helen is home scrubbing the floors after what she did, William wanders over to a tent revival across town where a preacher is really putting his laundry out there.
We miscarried again.
Yes, that is Ray Liotta, and Ray Liotta is married to Ashley Judd. She's the one who miscarried. And William is listening to how barren Ashley Judd's character Louise Wade is and thinks, I've got an idea that'll help everybody. And his wife replies, are you mental? What do you mean help everybody? That's one of our kids you're trying to give away, you maniac. But how can you resist the charms of William Hemsley? In fact, during their argument, he makes a pretty great point.
Having the job is my job.
So they invite over the Wades, Reese and Louise. I'm sure he loved being named Reese in the 1930s. And the Hemsleys say, please take one of our kids. Louise is weirded out, but also kind of into it. And Reese doesn't know what to do because who's ever trusted their kid with Ray Liotta? Anyway, let's get in there and split up them twins. William gives a letter to Reese and says, give this to our kid after Helen and I are dead. And Reese says, okay, I guess I gotta stay on top of that. And off the Wades go with their new kid. The Hemsleys hold a funeral to explain away the fact that they're down a kid now, and everyone is cool with it because kids died all the time in the old days. That's probably a minefield of kid corpses they're walking through. I'm so sorry. First of all, this is a movie. None of this is real. Second of all, the kid is alive. In fact, he's Ryan Wade now, and he's being raised in the church. But wouldn't you know it, little Ryan Wade's got the music in him. But if you're the well-respected town preacher, it is embarrassing. But who cares about this little kid's influences or upbringing, because we're fast-forwarding 10 years, and now Ryan Wade is probably somewhere between 15 and 17 years old.
Mama, you made it!
And who's the young teenage friend hanging out with Ryan? You guessed it, it's Seth Green. They're hanging out at this club on the outskirts of town so Seth Green can drink beer, but Ryan Wade is so captivated by this music. There's nothing like this back home. This is the kind of music I want to invent. And so he did. So Ryan Wade and whoever Seth Green is playing get to work on this thing called rock and roll so that the next time they go to the club, Seth Green can slip the band some cash and get them to play backup on a Ryan Wade original called Boogie Woogie Rock and Roll.
Boogie Woogie Rock and Roll.
Wouldn't you know it, the whole place goes nuts. Ryan impresses some lady he met there, so that was pretty cool. Fame and fortune await, and credits. No, actually the club gets busted up, presumably because black people were having fun, and Reese Wade has to come pick up Ryan. Reese says no son of mine is ever pursuing his dreams, so they ship Ryan off to the place where the light in your eyes goes to die. They enlist him in the army. I don't know how much good it does Ryan, though, because everyone in his unit is in love with him. Even his commanding officer rushes in at one point and says, your songs gave me complicated feelings, Ryan Wade. Never stop singing. Oh, hey, speaking of singing, meanwhile in Nashville, Drexel Hemsley is changing the course of history. Gosh, what an interesting 10 years he must have had. But no, we're just moving on? Okay. Let's instead check in on Louise and Reese, who are freaking out because Ryan's long-lost brother is now a famous music star, and Ryan is bound to figure this all out any day now. Okay, in fact, let's stop for a second, because in another universe, this is the rest of the movie. It is Reese and Louise Wade's world unraveling, because the unlikeliest thing ever has just happened. We are in the middle of nowhere, engaged in a secret we were planning to take to our graves, and now with no warning or heads up, the other half of the equation is about to become internationally famous. How does he even get out to Nashville? Did he run away from home, or are his parents cool with it? We know they're alive, we have to. But Ryan leaves the priesthood, much to the chagrin of his father, and has to set out on his own. And within hours, he's being offered a job by local mechanic Joe Pantoliano. Of course Joe Pantoliano's in here. Were we not expecting him in this movie set in rural Arkansas? Also, of course he's going to try to hire Ryan Wade. This guy just walked in who looks like the guy he seemingly has a little crush on. And again, this could be the rest of the movie. I'm obsessed with this rock idol, but you'll do. And then it's misery for the rest of the movie. I think he might lose that Dove.org endorsement. Instead, Ryan gets a job as a delivery person, which is lucky because one day he delivers a package to an old folks' home where he runs into Jenny. You know, the lady he was trying to impress at that club years ago. Not only that, but while Ryan is trying to get Jenny to ask about the motorcycle he just bought, one of the nurses lets it slip that, hey, you look like Drexel Hemsley. That entitles you to the information that his mom is staying here. She's right upstairs. Room 318. She has a deadly nut allergy. And of course, what does Ryan Wade do with this confidential information? He uses it to sneak up to Helen Hemsley's room, where the foul stench of death is already upon us. Look at her. She's decrepit. Ryan serenades Helen Hemsley with a song Drexel performed on television, because it was his mama's favorite. And I'm not playing it now because one, it's a whispered a cappella version and it's not a good representation of the song. And two, the song is going to come up again soon and we'll listen to it then. Remember, his mama's favorite song. Helen Hemsley likes the song so much that she refers to Ryan as Dexter, which was the name she gave Ryan before she gave him up. And then Helen Hemsley shuffles off this mortal coil. You know, Ryan, you could try and help her. You could even call for help. Oh, you've got places to be? Okay, champ. Helen's death has Ryan Hemsley feeling sad. So he takes the job working for Joey Pants, and Joey Pants says, Ryan, I'm going to help you win over Jenny. What you're going to do is you're going to serenade her, and I'm coming with you. And how can you resist the charms of both Ryan Wade and Avi Hirschberg? So Jenny agrees to leave the guy she's dating so she can fall in love with Ryan instead. Anyway, Ryan and Jenny get married, and 10 years pass, and we know that because now we're in wig country. See, that's how you know it's been 10 years. Ryan's life is kind of a bummer now, so to spice things up, Jenny signs up Ryan for a Sing Like the Dream contest, where all these Drexel Hemsley impersonators come out and stink up the joint. But then Ryan Wade comes out and blows them all out of the water with his rendition of Bebop and Baby.
Bebop and baby, shake it, rock it and roll. You can ask her to dance, but she don't wanna dance slow.
So it's on to the finals for Ryan, and oh my gosh, who should walk into the finals of this local radio contest but Drexel Hemsley himself? Everyone is in awe. Meanwhile, in another movie, Reese and Louise are losing their minds. But what a night for Drexel Hemsley to be here judging this contest. Because you remember that song Ryan sang to Drexel's mom seconds before she died? Because he heard it was her favorite song? Well, that's the song Ryan chooses for his performance in the finals. And let's hear a little bit of the song called Your Love's Keeping Me Tonight.
Your love's keeping me tonight. Even when we're far away.
I have a couple of irrational problems with this. First of all, it does feel kind of manipulative performing Drexel Hemsley's dead mom's favorite song in a contest where Drexel Hemsley is the judge. And while anyone else at this contest is also free to sing Your Love's Keeping Me Tonight, let's talk about the second point. This is a boring song. Imagine going to an Elvis sing-alike contest, and the guy who wins the contest wins with his rendition of In the Ghetto. But Ryan wins, Reese is pissed off about it for some dumb reason, and some guy walks up to Ryan and basically says, hi, I'm a slimeball, I mean, look at me. It turns out Slimeball is a promoter who can set Ryan up with a sweet gig performing as a Drexel Hemsley impersonator. Call up Seth Green because we're putting the band back together and tearing the roof off the Tennessee State Fair. And it's not long before word is spreading, and Ryan Wade is a hit. I have no idea how word spreads about a cover band. Reese finally tells Ryan he's proud of him for finding his true calling, despite Reese's best efforts. The money is coming in by the envelope delivered directly to the mailbox. Nobody even has to sign for it. Things are going great. Ryan's even working on some new material, some original songs he wrote. But Slimeball manager hears this and says, whoa, what's all this? As though a manager would say this. Hey, what's with all this talent you're flashing around? Put that away. What are you trying to do here? Sell tickets? So Ryan gets in Slimeball's face and says, hey, I'm the talent here, and I want to sing my own songs out there. I don't know why I finally decided to do that voice. Which, look, maybe Slimeball's got a point. Nobody wants to see a cover band and have someone in the band say, this is a song about how my girlfriend Deborah's a bitch. Like, what? I just wanted to hear some Candlebox. I don't even know the words to your song. But Ryan quits. And in this moment, Slimeball reveals perhaps the craziest detail of the movie.
Ryan, there's only one Elvis, there's one Drexel, and there's one Beatles.
So all along I thought, this guy looks like Elvis, he talks and sings like Elvis. This must be the Elvis of whatever universe this is. The likeness rights are expensive universe. To know that Elvis Presley and Drexel Hemsley exist in the same universe, this just raises more questions. Is Elvis okay with this? Like, hey man, this guy across the street is doing my exact same shtick, man. I was in a surf movie, now he's in a surf movie. Or does the market support both of these guys existing? Like how the boy band craze could support NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys in 98 Degrees in O-Town. Can this time period support Elvis and Drexel Hemsley and Conrad Birdie from Bye Bye Birdie and the Honky Tonk Man? Anyway, Ryan quits and runs home to Jenny and gets to work on a song of his own that's gonna make him a star called City Lights.
City lights keep on shining. I see you smiling eyes of blue.
And he takes it to a record exec and the executive says, oh my god, we love City Lights. This will be a perfect song for Drexel Hemsley to sing. And Ryan says, whoa, this is my song. I'm Ryan Wade. I want to be my own star. In which case, maybe don't come to the meeting dressed as Drexel Hemsley. Unless that's your style now. I don't think so, though. I saw you in a fun little Paisley number earlier, but also in a very normal black polo. What if he never bothered to shop for himself and this is the closest thing he has to a suit? Like, hey man, this is the nicest thing I own. After this meeting, I'm going to court. But you remember how at the beginning of the movie Drexel was back home for some reason? Well, it turns out he was back home to summon the spirit of his dead brother Dexter, I guess, because he's like, why you and not me? And then he learns that life's funny sometimes because then Drexel Hemsley dies in a plane crash. Ryan Wade finds out about the plane crash via psychic link with his brother because Ryan faints, which if they're linked, I think Ryan is getting off a little easy. His brother just died in a plane crash. It would have been cool to see Ryan Wade snap in half or something right there in the middle of his shift. But Ryan takes it hard. Oh, honey, what's the matter? You've hardly even touched your Bible. And then one night at dinner, Reese is like, you know what can fill that hole in your heart? The Lord. And Ryan says, knock it off. I listened to that dream for years. That's not my dream, that's yours. And Reese responds by having a heart attack. They send Reese off to the hospital, and then Ryan comes home later to clean up everything, and he finds the letter that William Hemsley gave to Reese Wade and made Reese Wade promise to give this to my son when I'm dead. Well, now Ryan is finding it years before that, I guess, and now he knows. Now he knows the truth about him being a twin and separated shortly after birth. So Ryan Wade ends up going back to Decatur to visit the grave of Drexel Hemsley and to see the grave of himself, which is a weird thing. But while he's there, he runs into his birth father. He runs into William Hemsley, who is unfortunately blind and cannot verify that the guy in front of him is Dexter Hemsley, his birth son. But William just knows. William knows that this is my son. And they have a great moment, and the end. And if it feels like I ran out of gas toward the end of telling the story of the identical, it's because I did. Because if you're like me, you realize about 2/3 of the way through the movie, as the movie's starting to wrap up, you had no real reason to be told the story of Ryan Wade. Because the thing about musical biopics is that they're telling the story of an artist, a tortured artist. They had a rough upbringing. What was it that inspired them to make the hit song or the beautiful music that they did? But the identical is telling the story of someone copying that person. There's nothing interesting about Ryan Wade. The only thing interesting about Ryan Wade is his job. And even that is impersonating the person who is actually interesting. So all you're left with is a movie about a boring guy. Yeah, he was raised in the church and he doesn't want to be a part of the church, which is another issue that I have with this movie. It's not an issue necessarily, but for a movie that is supposedly faith-based, you could argue that the villain of this movie is Ray Liotta as the preacher, because he is the one who is holding Ryan Wade back from achieving his dreams, from achieving his destiny, his birthright, really, if you look at his talented brother. So I'm not so sure the identical deserves that kind of faith-based endorsement. I think maybe they should watch the movie before they go throwing around endorsements like that. I'm not sure faith comes across the way they want it to. But at the end of the day, this movie's just fun. It really is a walk hard without any jokes and in a way that kind of makes it just as funny. I could add another 10 minutes to this video if I talked about the soundtrack to the Identical. If I talked about the special features on the Identical, the DVD Blu-ray has a lot of fun special features. There is a promotional video from Zaxby's where Ryan Wade or Blake Rain or, oh boy, we haven't even talked about that. So I was trying to find more information on Blake Rain, the guy who plays Drexel Hemsley, the guy who plays Ryan Wade. And the thing about Blake Rain is that it's not actually Blake Rain. It's actually an actor by the name of Ryan Felton. And Ryan Felton decided to Chris Gaines us. And he changed his name to Blake Rain so that he could play Drexel Hemsley and Ryan Wade. For what purpose? I don't know. I don't know how that informs the performance. But yeah, great job, Ryan Felton, Blake Rain. I wonder if that caused him some issues in getting work, where people wanted Blake Rain and he just kept showing up as Ryan Felton. Oh man, I can go on for quite a bit talking about Blake Rain, Ryan Wade, Ryan Felton, the soundtrack, 29 songs. There's a promotional video for Zaxby's that I was in the middle of talking about where Ryan Felton is racing a NASCAR. Racing a NASCAR? Sure. He's racing it around the tracks. What this has to do with Zaxby's or the Identical, I have no idea. Still don't know what Zaxby's sells. But I'm not going to talk for an additional 10 minutes about the Identical and ruin all the fun for you. There's so much more to discover with this movie. I do recommend it if you temper your expectations accordingly. It's a fun time. And it is a movie I don't really see people talk about very often, even when talking about good, bad movies. I don't like using that term, good, bad movies, but it certainly is good, and not for good reasons. So thanks for watching our video. Please be sure to like the video. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Please be sure to do all of the things that the algorithm likes. And if you want to help us open our physical video store, please do. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/LighthouseVideoLJCO. If you want to make a bunch of people in La Junta, Colorado happy, starting in 2027, we'll be opening that up and you can help. So thank you so much. And I will be doing this again very soon within the next several weeks. I'm excited. We'll talk again.